We have all heard about the Battle of Berlin, but what about the Battle of the Austrian capital? I'm talking about the Battle of Vienna. Austria was annexed by Germany in 1938, and in 1945 a vicious battle took place here, the forgotten World War II battle, the Battle of Vienna, coming up. In mid-March 1945, the Soviet Red Army launched a major offensive with the aim of clearing Axis forces out of Hungary and forcing them back to the very borders of the Third Reich. The Germans hastily drew up the southeast wall, the Reichsschutzstellung, in order to defend the southeastern borders of the German Reich. This wasn't like a wall, but more a series of German batteries and anti-tank ditches, which was hastily constructed and therefore lacked any effectiveness. On the 2nd of April, Waffen-SS General Sepp Dietrich, the commander of the 6th Panzer Army, was announced as the defender of Vienna. He had to make use of battered army formations that withdrew from Hungary, such as the 2nd SS Panzer Division Das Reich. Army formations came in from Hungary but were hindered by traffic jams caused by the many troops, both Germans and Hungarians, as well as countless civilians that were making their way west, hoping to reach safety there. On the 4th of April 1945, Das Reich defended the area of Vienna airport but was forced back to a line between villages of Mödling and Achau. From there, they had to prevent the Soviets attacking Vienna from Wiener Neustadt and Sopron. But it was now clear that the Soviets were also beginning to push northwest towards the Danube River Valley in the area of Tulln, with the intention of outflanking and isolating the Austrian capital. Das Reich's commander, SS Colonel Rudolf Lehmann, withdrew to the city to make a stand. That day, General Rudolf von Bülow was appointed as city commander and sometime later received orders from Hitler himself, which stated, "From now on there is to be no more retreating." Intense fighting had already taken place and his men were forced back 2.5 miles across flat ground to a low ridge running from Wössendorf to Leopoldsdorf. Extraordinary events occurred during the withdrawal towards Vienna. Convalescents and soldiers on leave were taken off the trains passing through Vienna and now had to fight. On the 5th of April, Lehmann ordered for further withdrawal on higher ground behind the Liesung River, running from Mauer through Altmannsdorf to the area of Inzerdorf. On the 6th of April, 7:30 hours, the Soviets attacked the German positions. Now, I read that the Austrian resistance wanted to hand over the city to the Soviets. I do not know how they were planning to do this. Either way, it failed since the leaders of the resistance didn't calculate the presence of Waffen-SS soldiers. The soldiers of Das Reich, they pulled back to the Florendorf bridge across the Danube. City Commander von Bülow was placed under command of SS Lieutenant General Willy Bittrich, who ordered the bridges to be blown. By the evening, Das Reich was no longer a division, but scattered in small unit groups. These had been forced back to a line just south of Schönbrunn Palace and extending west to the Hitzing sector of the city. German batteries were positioned on the grounds of the palace, which suffered only minor damage. Later, the Germans were pushed back further into the streets just north of the Schönbrunn Palace. During the 6th, the commander of the 3rd Ukrainian Front, Russian Marshal Fyodor Torbukin, arranged for a message to be broadcast to the local population. The retreating German troops want to turn Vienna into a battlefield just as they did Budapest. Vienna and its inhabitants are under the threat of similar destruction and terror as was handed out there. Citizens of Vienna, help the Red Army to liberate the capital of Austria. Play your part in liberating your country from the fascist German yoke. The Soviets, they played into the Austrian sentiments of them being occupied by Germany. Now, to what extent these broadcasts had the desired effect is hard to determine, but it surely did not improve morale of the defenders. Later, the Germans learned that civilians of the city were helping the Soviets with carrying equipment and ammunition. Now, to what extent this happened voluntarily is very questionable. April 7th, 1945. There was no longer a German front line in Vienna, but more scattered units defending tactically important positions. By the end of the day, West Station was lost and the Germans withdrew into Mariehilf and Neubau districts and the Floridsdorf Bridge district across the Danube. That day, the Grinzing region of Vienna fell to the Red Army, threatening all the Germans west of the Danube Canal with encirclement. 2 days later, April 9th, German positions west of the Danube were no longer tenable. Das Reich was fighting in a rough semicircle extending from the vicinity of the North Bridge to just beyond the Aspern Bridge. The situation was very hopeless. Marshal Rodion Malinovsky, 46th Soviet Army was attacking northwest and west with the aim of sealing the escape routes of the Germans defending the city. It has to be pointed out, however, that none of the formations mentioned was anywhere near peak strength, and by this stage of the war, the Soviet Supreme Command was acutely aware of the Red Army's cumulative casualty figures. With Poland, Slovakia, Hungary and Romania already occupied by Soviet troops and the desired buffer zone between the western border of the motherland and the fascist and capitalist enemies firmly established, there seemed little point in needlessly sacrificing more lives. Against Hitler's orders not to withdraw, the 2nd SS Panzer Division pulled back across the Danube and the remaining bridges were blown, except the Reich and Floridsdorf Bridge. These weren't blown yet. The German front on Prater Island held throughout the 11th, but on the 12th the Soviets made a major incursion in the area of Augarten Canal Bridge, forcing the Germans back into two small perimeters, Das Reichs encompassing the Northwest Station area and the Floridsdorf Bridge, and the Totenkopfs and the 6th Panzer Division's North Station and Reichs Bridge. On April 12, the Reichs Bridge fell in Soviet hands due to an error. Therefore, Das Reich had an open flank and had to abandon the Northwest Station. As night became day, von Bülow knew fighting on was senseless, but withdrawal across the bridges in daylight was risky because of direct Russian fire. Furthermore, on the 12th, Hitler issued a directive that ordered imported communication centers to be defended to the bitter end. Acting against this was punishable by death. Therefore, the Germans held on to the Floridsdorf bridgehead west of the Danube. From the east side, they kept up a wall of protective fire with their 88mm flak battery. As the situation became more hopeless, von Bülow finally acquiesced and gave orders to withdraw. And so, the Germans withdrew and blew up the bridge. The battle for Vienna was over. More than 20% of the housing stock was partly or completely destroyed. Almost 87,000 flats had become uninhabitable. In the urban area, more than 3,000 bomb craters were counted, many bridges were in shambles, sewers, gas and water pipes had suffered severe damage. The imperative of the immediate afterwar period was to solve the most basic problems and get the city back to some degree of working order. Contrary to Berlin, when you walk through Vienna, you don't see many traces, but there are some exceptions, and these are the flag towers, one of which you can see behind me. If you want to learn about other forgotten World War II battles, you can click right here. Thanks to my patrons, you see their names on the screen, and if you want to support me, you can do so via PayPal and via Patreon. The links are in the description. Until next time.